Hi, everyone. This is Run with Alli Live. It is Tuesday, June 7th, and I cannot believe we are already into June. Can you, Alyssa?
No, but I'm so happy about it.
Oh my gosh, me too. We love that summer running, don't we?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. And before I introduce Alyssa formally to those of you who are returning to the podcast, please do not forget to subscribe to the show so I could bring on our special show guests every week. And to those of you that are new listening, welcome to the show. Please subscribe. So, without further ado, we are speaking with Alyssa Salese today. She is, wow, a former colleague of mine, and now I want to say I don't like the word recreational, but a very leisurely runner gone elite runner. And she is an exceptional marathoner, and I'm really, really excited to just talk with her and hear about her journey. So, Alyssa, welcome.
Thanks, Allie. Always love our chats and talking. Thanks for
Always love them. Yeah, yeah. So I would love for you to just tell the listeners on here a little bit about yourself and, how you got into distance running.
Sure. Yeah. So it's funny. I've always identified with running since I was a little kid, but I never got into it competitively until my senior year of high school. I ran on the winter track team and I was like, I really I love this. However, didn't pursue it through college. And then when I graduated from Manhattan College in 2015, I started to pick it up again. And then it kind of just snowballed because I then started working full time. So I would try to squeeze all the runs that I was doing sporadically throughout the day when I didn't have a job yet into one because now I was working. And so what is that, 7 years ago? So just since then, I just kind of been adding the miles, and it became more of a very significant thing in my life. It led to healthier habits. And then I found myself getting pretty good at it. Cause I mean, as you know, the more you do something, hopefully the better you get. Um, and so it led to certain things in my life. I decided to get my personal training cert, which is where I met you back in 2018, well, 2017 really. And
But I have to interrupt you for a sec. When I met you, first of all, you were like the sweetest person at Equinox. You were the only other runner I knew as a trainer, which was amazing. And I recall you saying you just leisurely ran 8 miles a day, no speed work, nothing.
yeah, exactly. It was very the same thing almost every day. There really wasn't any cross training, no speed work, no intervals, no, not it was just go run the same pace distance pretty much every day. Sometimes the occasional oh, maybe I'll do 13 miles on this Sunday, but it was the same. So there was not much was changing. And then fast forward a few years, I was introduced to my first coach, and he introduced me to speed work and tempo runs, whatever. And then COVID happened, and it was without a coach for a little bit. That was such a weird time, just 2020
Hmm.
in general, with racing and running.
Yeah.
And then last, it'll almost be a year, last July. This family that lives in the neighborhood that I would run in every day, they had been I guess following me a little bit with because I really wasn't racing a lot, and then I guess the few recent ones that I had done, they saw my times. And they actually stopped my mom first, and they were like, does your daughter have a coach, because we know somebody, and we would love to introduce them, and if she's interested. And obviously I was very open to it. And I've been with that coach, his name is Mike, since last July, so it'll almost be a year. And he just totally changed my life, in terms of the different workouts, like you and I had talked about before, fueling and hydration. I never did any of that before him. And then when he was training me for Boston, he was like, okay, so these are gels, and you need to take one before and one during, and depending. And I, at first I was like, no, I don't want to do that. Just very not open to it. And then he's like, no, you this is gonna enhance your performance. You need to, it's not healthy without it. Same thing with hydrating during a run. I never did that. And he was like, look, these are just the little tweaks that we need to do. He referred to it as we're going for the low hanging fruit. that's what we did for Boston. And then just like since then, he's just introduced me to so many wonderful things and definitely improved in you know, the few races that I've done recently, and I'm definitely seeing like progress. So I'm super happy with it. But yeah, how I got into running, it really was just like, oh, a few miles here, oh, a little bit more, you know. And you were a huge part of that story because, like you said, at Equinox, it was just like, oh, I'm running miles a day, and that was it, you know. But yeah.
Yeah, but look how things evolve. And, you know, it's so funny because I guess I'm speaking more from a coach standpoint here, but the runners I coach, the ones that are, you know, running first time marathons or going for Boston, I guess a lot of it is from personal experience and a lot of it's from credentials, you name it. But as you know, training is like maybe a quarter of the marathon. Nutrition and recovery, sleep, just allowing your body to recover from the stress of training is like what will make your race on race day. And just, I love what you said about taking these fuels and practicing them during your training because it sounds like those did wonders for you. I would love to hear about, you know, maybe the first time you incorporated fuel properly and how that affected a recent marathon you ran.
Absolutely. So one of my favorite things to reflect back on actually is, I think it was like my last long run before Boston. So I did the Boston 21, which took place Columbus Day. But so like 2 weeks beforehand, I had my last long run. It was like a 20 miler, and my coach was like, all right, so actually the guy who introduced me to my coach, he came down to my work and handed me like a packet of gels. Just very, very generous guy, like just to a fault, just too nice. Always made sure that I had what I needed. And he was like, Mike, really, he needs you to do, you know, the fuel and the hydration. Like, please, like, this is for like, you know, every run, but like your long run, make sure you take one before, you know, maybe in one during, you know. And we were starting lightly. Some people will take more than that for a 20 miler, but I was like, all right, we'll start with that. And I remember on that run, I was like, because there was speed work incorporated. So I feel like I took the second gel at like mile 15 maybe, and it was Cliff Bar, like double espresso. So it had like the caffeine. And my mom was with me on the bike to hand me my electrolytes. And I remember being like, this is great. This doesn't even feel like a 20-mile run. Oh my God. And whether it's psychological or like totally just physical or not, it made such a difference in that last long run. And then of course, because of it, put me in a good place leading up to Boston. When I was running Boston, I had 3 of them. I was like, it almost gave me like a sense of like safety. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna be fine because I'm gonna have my gels, and it's gonna feel just gonna feel easier. Not that it like is, but it does give you a sense of like,
You probably felt more confident and just like, you know, you trusted your training because you're like, I did that. Wow, I felt like that. So what's going to be different today? Maybe the weather, but I can't control that.
yeah, exactly. So it's funny because it's such like a, you know, and this could be like such like, you know, they're gels, but because of they're almost new to my life, I'm like, wow, like I'm just still so excited about just doing, you know, just being a runner the proper way. And what is the proper way? I think it's just looking out for your body, and you know, so they're so important. And yeah, I'm just so thankful for all these little things that get thrown my way.
No, yeah, I mean, and I'm so excited for you because the more like forgive me if this is something you don't already know, but the more you start implementing those year over year, your body's going to just acclimatize to, you know, getting used to that, training your gut and just probably burning through glucose a little slower because you've already been fat adaptive. You've already been running in a fasted state before that. So that's kind of
Right.
to your benefit in a weird way. And I know your endurance base just by knowing you. So that leads me to my next question for you. So you are a 250 marathoner,
251. Yeah.
same thing. So very fast marathon runner currently. And, you know, for the listeners on here, you know, we have aspiring first time marathoners, people looking to BQ. You're an inspiration to these people and to myself. So I would love to hear in your buildup, and it's fine if you don't have one thing. What do you think was pivotal to really helping you push through to the next level, like running a sub 3 marathon?
I think at the time, and this could be so this might even be a little embarrassing to say out loud, but I think having like the vision in my head of maybe getting the OTQ meant like, okay, let's chip away at this time, because then you're one step closer to that. And then like just picturing that celebration, really manifesting those things. Even Boston, like manifesting like how amazing it's going to be at the finish line at the Boston Marathon, which is, you and I can agree on this. I think the best marathon in the world, most historic. Just it's Boston. So I think at the time, it was that. And now since they've made the OTQ standard more difficult, it's still something that I would like to aspire to do. Is it on, am I like, oh, I'm gonna make 2024? Like, I don't think so. Like it's definitely something that I want to work towards in my 30s, the next 10 12 years of my running career. But I've also learned not to be so like hard on myself, like, okay, now I have to get my time to, it's like, be realistic, like set realistic expectations. Right now it's like work on going sub 250 and getting in the 240s, and seeing what happens and take it from there. It's but yeah, that's really, it's just manifesting things and like picturing the end line is what's huge for me.
I love that because everyone has such a different strategy, and that's super helpful to know. Like, first of all, amazing goal. You can get it. I'm just going to say that. I believe in you. It's great not to put too much pressure on one race, but the beauty about the marathon is anything can happen on race day within reason, of course. But
Yeah.
if you're feeling like super freaking good and you want to push it the last 10K, go for it. I mean, and a lot of that comes down to taking care of yourself during your training, practicing, your proper thresholds and your runs, and yeah, nutrition. Um, so to dive into a little bit about that, and you could say as much or as little as you want, and I'm happy to share a little. I had a very big eating problem personally before I went into coaching, like fully, and I had a bad relationship with food, and I loved looking skinny, and I thought it would make me faster, but then it broke me, like literally. And I know
Yeah.
you saw, like you kind of just, yes, it tore
Yeah.
me down mentally. It was just like, blah. Had its own silver lining. But yes, it took me a while to kind of learn how important fueling was for performance, and that you can have a weight loss goal while also running for performance in a marathon. So to the listeners on here, you could run a marathon and finish it in 5 hours and try to lose weight. Amazing goal, but it's different than if you're trying to push a sub 4 or a sub 3 or a sub 330. You have to fuel your body to do that. So yeah, I mean, I would just love your take on like fueling food, fueling during your long runs, and just anything you'd recommend to any of the listeners on here to just get the point across that, you know,
Oh yeah.
nutrition's pretty important.
It To me, I believe that it's the number one, because like you and I've talked about this before, like if you're going to go on a road trip with a Porsche 911, like, you've got to put premium gasoline. Like, it's the same thing with our bodies and distance running. You can't, expect to under fuel, or, even overeating. Like, you need to find the proper way to fuel your body for performance, for, so many reasons, health wise. Um, and, at the end of the day, like, the way we look is one thing, but if you're going for, a certain time, or if this is for sport, like, it's all going to follow suit. It's the most important thing, and you need to listen to your body. There was a time where I was cutting out animal protein really for like ethical reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't work for my body. I was losing so much muscle mass, um wasn't getting the quality workouts in, and then I, within the past year, decided to incorporate animal protein again. And for my body personally, because every body is different, um that has worked well for me. I always make sure that I get, the right amount of carbs in. If, you know, long run speed work is following suit the next day, don't overdo it, because you also, you know, you don't want to overdo anything. It's just the proper amounts, listening to your body, just making sure, like, what do I have to do to have a solid workout in the morning? And yeah, just getting that quality workout in, and having a good relationship with food, a great relationship with food, is so significant in, you know, any endurance sport, right? Because back to the analogy with the car, that's how we're going to get our energy. And if we don't have the energy, we can't perform. So it's, you know, it's all related. It's all relative.
Yes, yes. And carbs, proteins, healthy fats, amazing. And also just like it's okay to have a cookie, everyone. Like it's more than okay if you're marathon training.
Every night. Just so I'm just letting everybody know, like, every single night. I get home from work,
I love that.
almond milk and a few cookies, and it is like, look, I'm not promoting sugar here, but guess what?
No,
Sometimes
you should. We listen, we're training for marathons here. We
God,
need it. We need
you
that sugar.
need that joy in your life somewhere. We work so hard. It's, you know, look, I'm not saying eat the whole sleeve, but allow yourself certain things. It's just having that good balance with food. It's key, you know.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. And you said it before too, like why do the elite athletes look like they do? Like I know Sarah Hall, I mean, I love her. She has teff flour in her chocolate pancakes that Ryan Hall makes her every morning because she posts it on social media.
Yeah.
And I'm like, she needs that fuel. And she burns it through her workout. And I'm
Who
sure she has cookies too.
who works harder than Sarah Hall?
That's a good question. She's beast mode.
The beast.
Yeah.
And, you know, look, it's like, I mean, if that's not a role model, right?
You're a role model, Alyssa. Don't come on. Let's be real. Let's be real. The listeners on here, when I met Alyssa, I don't think you ran a marathon yet, did you?
No.
No. So she had not run a marathon. Was leisurely running for health, mentally, physically, just cause it's good for you. And then what was your first marathon time? I have to share.
That was Long Island. That was 3:02.
Oh, and you won that marathon.
Yeah, so that was fun. You know, first marathon,
Yes.
win it. I got the BQ. It was just very fun. It was a good day. It was a
Yeah.
shitty day, pouring rain, but I did everything I wanted to, set out to do that day. Yeah.
Yeah, and a huge message I do want to get across to everyone here is it's not about Alyssa's time that, of course that's inspiring that she, won the race, but and Alyssa, sorry for talking about you in the third person here, but like Alyssa built year over year her miles without even realizing it. She didn't just dive into the marathon with zero training. So you had a pretty good base going into it. And
Right.
for anybody on here, understand that if you want to be like Alyssa and go for a 302, that is amazing, but you've got to build your base year over year. You can't just jump into a 20-mile long run at first. So
No.
meet yourself where you're at in your training, work with the coach, work with the training group, whatever it is, to train smart and make it fun.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you want to add anything on to that, but feel free.
No, I agree. It's definitely, you and I have talked about this before too. It's because I started like running on a regular basis in 2015, and the first thing that people always ask you is, are you going to do the marathon? Are you going to run New York City? And I was like, yeah, like eventually, like I'll get to the marathon, I'll get there. I didn't want to like commit to the marathon until I was ready to do it. And I think that people should really, really consider that. Like, is this something that you're ready to commit to? Because this training, you're going to have to set out the time for it. It's not a joke. It's, to run that distance, you want your body to be ready.
Mm-hmm.
So anyone who is going out to set those goals, just really be mindful of the time and energy that needs to be put into it, and think about if it's something that you really want. And if it is, you just go for it.
I love that. Yeah. And it doesn't matter what your time is. Everyone's hard is hard. So Alyssa's hard might be the same as my hard, but it doesn't matter. We're all running the same race. So putting in that time so you don't get injured is, yeah, I think that's a really good point. I like that a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
So question for you. What do you, have to say about sleep during the marathon? Do you sleep extra a little bit? Maybe
You
a
know,
lot.
so it's, it's funny because now it's been quite a while since I've run a marathon, and that's something that my coach and I have been discussing. We're trying to peg one for, September, October, but so it's really like last summer was the last time I was training for a marathon. And sleep, I just remember like when I was ready for bed, like I was like ready, like there was no like extra staying up and sleeping really well because it's summer. But getting up earlier to get the workout in before like the heat of the day. So yeah, like if you don't get like the sleep and the nutrition, I think go hand in hand. Like if one is off, like your training is going to be off. So it is so important to make sure you get the quality sleep. I feel like last summer I had like the best sleeps of my life, like when I'm training.
Oh my God, same. Like 9 hours.
Yeah, like that's a lot, but like
I know, I know. I just, I mean, right? Everyone's different. That just goes to say, like, my body needed that. Like, it needed
your
that.
body, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. I was like, am I 12 years old or like 32 here? So, it's all good.
Same thing.
Same thing. It's all good.
We're millennials,
All,
same thing. We are 12.
yes, yes. If you're marathon training, you could sleep. So sleep, because that's when your muscles do the most recovery anyway. So
Yeah.
yes. So, what is one? I know we've given so much advice here, but what's a tip of advice you'd give to someone that, came up to you and they were like, Alyssa, I saw you run Boston. I really want to run it. What advice do you have to give me?
For anybody, so this is Boston
The Boston Marathon, the Boston.
marathon. Um, I would say just when it gets tough, just keep going. Incorporate as many hills as you can into your workouts and your long runs. And I think you should run Boston because of the feeling you get running that course is like nothing you'll ever experience in your life. And yeah, just train your ass off, commit, and picture yourself, running through that finish line. I mean, there's nothing like it, but yeah, I mean, get ready for the hills. It's not going to be easy, but the reward at the end is greater than all the pain you experience during the training, during the actual race. It's Boston. It's the best.
That's great advice. Anyone listening on here, I hope you check Alyssa out on Instagram, even though she's not big on social media, which is fine. But you could see all of her wonderful stuff and you could, direct message her, but be mindful of her time as well. Alyssa, after you crossed the finish line, how did you feel when you got that 251? Like what, like,
You
yeah,
know,
everything. I want to hear it.
I was so happy because Boston was my third marathon. It had been, I guess, 2 years since I ran Philadelphia. So Philly was my second. And in Philly, I ran 259. And that was without any fueling. Like I didn't eat anything before the marathon, nothing during, not a sip of water or anything during Philly. And it just goes to show, like, so look, Boston, which is such a hard course, I did that with the proper training, fueling, hydration, sleep, like nutrition, everything was on. And it was a much hotter day. Philadelphia, it was raining and cool. Boston, it was pretty humid this past Columbus Day for that race. And to PR by that much, I was so happy. But I reflect on how Philadelphia was such a miserable experience for me. Like, even though I didn't run that course as fast, it felt so much harder. I almost didn't finish several times. But Boston, like feeling pretty strong throughout the entire thing. The hills got me a little bit at the end. Like I have piriformis syndrome on and off, so like it definitely kicked in at the end. Of Boston, however, I felt strong like the whole time. So to have that feeling of, feeling strong and then seeing that time reflect it, being like, wow, I was so much more prepared for this. So that made that PR like all that much sweeter. And then finishing, I just remember being like, oh, I just can't wait for a yellow Gatorade. It's gonna be so
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Like, cause you're like so dehydrated. You probably have like salt everywhere. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, absolutely. And it's like that's like the one time where I'm like, Gatorade's not the best for us, but after that race, after you cross, like, give me that Gatorade. Like right now, it's all good.
yes, yes, that's so funny. Oh my gosh. I was the same way in San Diego, like 2 times, like the first time I ran it, that's all I wanted was a Gatorade. I just remember like standing up against the wall, like, yes.
Listen to your body. If it wants Gatorade, have it.
Yes, exactly. I love that. And oh, so one last question. Why did you say yes to being on the Run with Alli Live podcast today?
Well, for one, I always love talking with you. And honestly, Alli, I don't get to talk running that much anymore in my day to day. I'm not in the fitness industry full time anymore. I just do personal training on the side before I get into work. Not with Roadrunners anymore. I work for my parents in their restaurants. So when I do talk running, it's not like this. Um, and so I just really look forward to talking running with you. And it's always a good time. And we're talking about me, but I'm always finding myself blown away by your continued success. And it's nice knowing you for I guess almost 5 years now, and just seeing the progress that you've made from the time that I've met you. It's yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I have to say the same about you. Like literally you blow me away. I was screaming for you in the RBC half. I don't know if you heard me, but I was like literally like when you were coming out of Prospect Park, I was like, Alyssa. I mean, there was so many people there. Roberto was right there too.
He's great.
He's
I
so great. Yeah.
did hear you. That was, oh my God, that was the soupiest day I've
It
ever.
looked brutal. But hey, you look strong. Everyone looks strong in the front. And then like it hurt though. It definitely hurt.
Yeah,
Like it looked like I felt for you. Like I was like, ooh, this is tough weather.
we
Yeah.
looked like we like jumped like in the ocean. Like everyone at the finish line was drenched. It was so nasty. My parents came and on the drive home, I get like my dad like really wanted to talk to me just like about the just like other things. And I no matter how much I took in hydration at every stop. I was so dehydrated. My stomach was in knots. I was like, I just need to go home. Like
Wow. Yeah.
it was a tough day. But yeah, I love that you were there cheering and with Roberto, who's so awesome.
Yeah, he was on my podcast the other week.
I know. Loved that
That's
one.
so funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but thank you. And I can't wait to see you grow. I know you're only getting started and you should do Chicago because I'll be running it too. And then I could try to chase you.
Love to do Chicago. I think it's too late for me though, right? I think it's closed.
Yeah, but like,
I
maybe
definitely do want to do it eventually because I think it's fast and I mean Chicago is awesome.
it is a fast course, but if the weather sucks, the weather sucks.
That's the marathon, right?
That is a marathon. Yes, that is a marathon. And also congratulations on your most recent half PR, by the way.
Thank you, Alli. Appreciate it. Hopefully the next one isn't so soupy like we were saying, but we'll see
Oh
what
my God. Yeah, that was wild. But
happens.
hey, you did it. So
Thank
yeah,
you.
and you're an inspiration. And is there anything you want to leave the listeners on here with? Just a few little inspirational words from a really good runner like yourself?
I think this goes for whether, you're into running or not. I just say like whatever your craft is or your passion, just give it 100% and you'll be good at it. Put the time in and, you can become elite at anything, whether, it's baking or running, just whatever you do. I think give it your all. And
Baking. Oh, I like that. Uh,
baker.
listen, it's not a bad thing to do, especially if you like cookies, but you got to just,
Yeah, I'm not. I wish I was. That would be dangerous if I was a good baker. But look, whatever your passion is, whether it's running or not, like give it your all, and you'll be good at it.
That's great advice. Thank you so much. And thank you for just joining me on here today. It's always a pleasure talking to you. And I can't wait to see you grow and see what you do next.
Thanks so much, Alli. Always a pleasure talking with you, and thank you so much for having me.
Of course. And to everyone on the show, Alyssa's information is going to be in the show notes. So please be mindful of her time when you reach out to her. And other than that, I'll see you at the same time, same place next week with a new special guest. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Alli.
Bye.